Hello friends! Well, it's another rainy Monday here, so no flying for me once again. Instead, a bit of a rant or maybe discussion about DJI. So was it earlier this week? Maybe last week. My YouTube feed just blew up. Bunged up with stuff about the Phantom 4 Pro and the Inspire 2 launches. And this really just comes weeks after launch of the Mavic, and most people are still waiting for their Mavic orders. So let's be very clear. DJI's onboard tech is really impressive, and it's light years ahead of its competition, especially as that competition is the GoPro Karma, and GoPro just had to recall them for fear of them dropping out of the sky with power loss. Not good. But my question is, are DJI good for us as FPV pilots, and are they good for the industry? I say it's a question. Obviously, I have my own feelings on this, which I'm going to share with you. So my real question is, am I on my own in the way I feel? So although I don't normally do that which I find slightly cringy, please thumbs up, comment and subscribe. In this case, I really am interested to know if other people have similar opinions or it's just me being a grumpy old man, which is entirely possible. And don't think you need to be flying something at the moment to comment. If you're new to this or you're thinking of buying yourself a drone, then your thoughts are of particular interest because I might be a bit jaded having been doing this a while. So, given there might be some new people, I thought we'd start with a slight history lesson. And historically, DJI were a big player in the general RC and FPV market. When I started playing around with things in 2012, back in February, the first NASA M controller had just been released, M meaning multicopter. Even then, DJI were way ahead of the game. The stability and the ease of the tuning was spot on. It pretty much just worked out of the box. And this was at a time when it was really quite a challenge to get anything running smoothly on the original KK or the multi-wii boards, which I had. Well, I had the original KK, and geez, that was a struggle. Even the KK2 in its early instances was still pretty tricky. And that original DJI NASA M controller came initially without the release of the GPS add-on. At the point you got it, it was like black magic. You hit a switch, it would come back to you and land. What a brave new world. The thing was though, at this point, this was very much in the realm of the RC hobbyist, which I'd put myself in. DJI sold this small F330 quad, the frame, the mid-size F450 and the F550 Hex frame, along with their own motors and ESCs. It was a pretty simple build from our point of view. You had, I think, 10 solder points to attach your ESCs and battery wire, and then it was a simple case of adding the NASA, the receiver, and your FPV gear. I had one. Most of my friends had one. If you look at this picture from an early meet we had, you'll see they were pretty all over the place. Here's my one now, and it's got an APM on it at the moment. But these are the original DJI ESCs and the original motors, and they're still good. So they were really popular. But of course, nobody who wasn't already a hobbyist would get one. From a layperson's point of view, it would look complicated. So when the original Phantom came out, it was basically a ready-built quad in a white plastic shell with a handy attachment for a GoPro, but still no FPV gear. But it did come with a controller, which started to gather the interest of non-hobbyists. And one of the questions I always get when you see a quad is, does it come with the remote? And trying to explain it's like one transmitter for lots of, it's a difficult sell. So moving on, the Phantom 2 bought video transmission via Wi-Fi as an add-on, or built in with this thing called the Phantom 2 Vision, but you still needed to add a gimbal and a GoPro in order to do that as part of the package. So the Phantom 3 was the complete ready-to-fly thing. Built-in stabilized camera, it didn't have to split, sending HD video back to your camera or tablet that you attached to the controller, all came in a box. It was all there, and it was marketed as the world's easiest thing to fly. And so, of course, many non-hobbyists bought these. It too, of course, attracted photographers and video makers that use it to create some lovely footage. But of course, the complete idiots that also flew them into buildings in cities, over football matches, and generally acted like dicks. And I'm talking about the Phantom 3 like it was the olden days, back in black and white. But the release was only April of last year, and the Phantom 4 was only released in March this year, and now the Phantom 4 Pro is upon us. My problem with them is I don't think they're now anything to do with the RC hobby. They're simply high-spec cameras you push around the sky with a joystick and an iPhone, really. Now, if you're a photographer looking for an epic shot, or you're needing aerial video for whatever purpose, these are great tools. But I just can't see anybody flying them for fun the same way as if we all went down a field with a few 250 quads and chased them through each other around trees and things. My other issue is cost. Now, I have to admit, I was getting close to the Mavic, not because of its video capability, but because its simple convenience factor. When I go on holiday, I love to take something I can fly if I can, mainly in the UK when we go away. And sometimes I'll take my Falcon Wing and try and get a few flights in, which I absolutely love to do. It's somewhere new. It gives me a little bit of extra fun on a holiday. The problem is that taking this relatively compact wing also means taking my Tyrannus, my Fat Shark, lipos, a charger, and a bag to put everything in. Sometimes some spare bits as well. It's quite a lot. So something I could fly which fitted in a tiny case and I didn't need all the stuff for, literally just a phone, would be amazing. But the more I thought about it, I realised I would get stressed about it having an issue. It's our 20th year wedding anniversary in March, and we're going on a short cruise and visiting the Bahamas. I thought it would be awesome to get some aerial footage. Those beaches are beautiful. But thinking about putting something that costs over £1,000 over that much water at any time filled me with dread. I even worry about putting my GoPro 4 in my current camera quad. This is it here, and by the way, the year or so in which I built this, I felt I'd done an amazing job of making this portable. It's got fold-out arms, you can just spin the props onto the motors, 3-axis gimbal, the GPS, the VTX antenna and the receiver antenna will all fold down, go flat. What could be easier? But look at the size of it. It's like a double-decker bus compared to the tiny thing that is the Mavic. And as I said, a scaredy cat as I am, I even worry about my GoPro 4 on it. In fact, I've got a much cheaper Firefly coming to use instead. And the reason I get nervous comes back to the fact that you aren't really flying these quads. Yeah, you're giving the controller some inputs of what you want it to do, but you're not really in direct control. All those processors and sensors are doing their thing depending on what they think they've seen, or what the GPS or compass reading may be. And it wasn't that long ago that the problem of the NASA flyaway, sometimes known as engaging RTC or return to China, was quite prevalent. It was quite easy to blame this on the inexperienced pilot not going through the compass calibration properly, or generally not knowing what they were doing. But I know personally some really experienced FPVers, much more experienced and better than me, who had this issue firsthand and definitely set things up correctly. I'm so relaxed flying a mini quad, and yet I crash these all the time. I'm just so utterly confident that even in a case of a problem, it's not going to fly off somewhere by itself. DJI never really addressed that issue, putting the blame firmly on the users. And because it's all closed source, it's not like people could have a look at the logs and understand what it might have been doing. It was just, yeah, you've cocked it up, it's all your fault. My last point is about the turnover of the products. Is it really a good thing? Again, DJI are coming out with some fantastic tech in every iteration. But is this going to alienate their early adopter customers? The Inspire 1 when released was staggering, and it still looks staggering, that whole brilliant. But the release of the Phantom 4 meant the lower priced quad had a few features which its higher priced and very pro model didn't. Then the Mavic came along and made us wonder why anyone would ever buy a Phantom 4. Better in spec, in a smaller and more convenient package. So the Phantom 4 Pro boasts a massively improved camera and a load more sensors, and the Inspire 2 is the ultimate pro filming rig. Brilliant! Unless you've bought an Inspire 1 or a Phantom 3 or 4 and wondering why you have to pay for a whole new machine to get these features. And I think certainly in the case of Phantom 3 to Phantom 4, the batteries aren't compatible, and I think that's the case in the Inspire 1 to 2. And these lipos aren't like the cheap things you get off Hobby King, they're like £100 a pop. I also think of the retailer as well. Any poor bugger that carries stock of Phantom 4s is going to be working really quite hard to get rid of them, especially as DJI seem to have some sort of pricing embargo, so that price is consistent everywhere. So, are DJI good for us? Yes and no, in my opinion. In the perfect world, we'd keep the great tech and the cameras, but it'd cost at least 50% off the price. I don't want to be a killjoy and say that people shouldn't use ready-to-fly drones. Of course they could, and they should enjoy them. They're fantastic for getting photos and great video of what you want. It's just that if you haven't gone the process of building and crashing and understand what's going on with a multi-rotor, it means you just don't have the understanding about why you shouldn't fly over people and things, and how your expensive drone might just drop out in the sky and into the ocean one day. But I just don't know how easily this can be shown to people unless they do it. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Bye for now.